Welcome to Total Apex Sports. This is the fourth and goal. I'm Andrew with our fellow writers Brandon, Zach, and Lawson. But we're going to be covering the last final home stretch of the NFL regular season. I mean, in my opinion, it should have lasted till like last week. Like this week, it's like more of a just a season finale for some of the teams that are dying, uh, barely getting to the finish line. But yeah, we have to start off with the Saturday slate, which are the basically most of the key games this week with the Browns at Ravens and Bengals at Steelers. We can go to the Bengals at Steelers because I think that probably has the more unpredictable potential in terms of the back and forth. Zach, what are your thoughts on them rematching again?
This is where I'm not going to call it a must win, but it's as close to a must win as it can be for a team that's already clinched the playoffs. Well, bringing I think Mike Tomlin put it well that there's a stench. There's a stench on this team. Defense is pointing fingers. The offense can't figure itself out. We have no idea our personnel to put on the field, even when we do call the right plays. So this is a chance to get it right against the team. You got it right before. Last time against we played Cincy, it was a get right game. We got it right. Now we play Cincy. We need another get right game. But I'm more nervous about this offense than I think I've ever been this entire season. I don't know. Imagine the offense I've seen over the past 3 weeks put 44 up. To me would be ridiculous. So I'm very very nervous about this game.
Yeah, Lawson, you can follow up on your Steelers.
It's tough because through 14, 15 weeks, I was like, okay, this is a contending Super Bowl team, assuming everyone's healthy, stuff like that. One of the things that I thought about was when our rookie receiver Roman Wilson gets taken off IR and is questionable for this game. I'm like, well, if he plays, how limited is he going to be? What's his snap count going to look like? It's really interesting when it comes down to your matchups because we did see them in Cincy drop 44 and win a. It wasn't supposed to be a runaway game, but they ended up scoring a late touchdown and came down to an onside kick. All things of that considered, um, I think with Joey Porter coming back healthy, I understand that Dante Jackson is questionable with a back again. Wait, I think it's a back. Let me see. It yeah, it's with his back. Overall, I think this is just like Zach mentioned. This is as close to a get right must win game for a team that essentially it's not a must win for. But when you talk about the Cincinnati side, Chase Brown's questionable with an ankle. They're going into a hostile environment. And you're playing one of the hottest, not just teams but offenses in the NFL. We see Joe Burrow made the Pro Bowl today. We've seen that. Oh, he's been one of, if not the best quarterback all season
Yeah,
long. But when it comes down to it, it's can the Cincinnati defense generate timely stops against the Steelers offense that hasn't looked good over the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
hmm yeah, Brandon, you kind of deemed your playoff team as the Bengals. You know, they're coming off a pretty solid a win against the Broncos. That was probably one. That was definitely one of the games of the week. Like just the fact that like it's not just the Bengals too, like also the Broncos, but also for T Higgins to really dominate that game. Like Chase was kind of getting covered by Sertan and shadowed and not as big of a factor. So yeah, I mean, as a Ravens fan, I don't want to see them in the playoffs because like potentially they could, depending on the matchup, they could win a playoff game.
So for me, it's depending on how Carson Wentz does, obviously, against this Denver Broncos defense on Sunday. Because obviously the Bengals
Yeah,
have to
that's the
win
factor.
against Pittsburgh, but then they have to hope that Miami loses against the Jets, and they have to hope that a Carson Wentz comes out balls like 2017 Carson Wentz against his Broncos defense. Because Matt Holmes is not playing. So my dream of the
Yeah.
Bengals getting there was close, but might not be it might not be come to fruition. But the saying this, the Bengals are like South Carolina, the hottest team heading into the week 18 right now. One of the hottest teams in the league. 4 out of the last 5. Or they won all their games in a row, but they because they had to. But this Cincinnati team,
Right.
if they had a better defense and they had a better start, probably would be like in the 5-6 seed right now. They would be one of the top AFC teams, and they would be probably playing in Baltimore or Houston. But they're on the outside looking in, fighting a chance to get into the playoffs against a Buffalo team that's probably going to have a chance to go to the AFC Championship. So it's interesting to see. I think the NFL wants Joe Burrow in there for the ratings aspect of it. I think a lot of NFL fans want Joe Burrow in the Bengals to be in there. But I just don't know how it just depends on how Carson Wentz does. And I think Miami at the Jets, it depends on if the Jets start Tyrod or Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, I love the fact going on T. Higgins' point. Owning Riley Moss the way he did shows that Cooper DeJean is the one and only true white corner in this league.
White DB.
So
leave Riley alone.
I'll take that any day of the week. But no, Riley Moss has been great to see.
Yeah,
he's been a baller.
That matchup.
Yeah, I want to touch on before we move on to the next game. The Bengals offseason, because it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, they still have to pay Chase. They're going to. I think they're going to try to get Higgins back. Now the interesting is are they going to keep Lou Anarumo? I mean, I know he's been their guy for the past few years, but I don't even I know they had injuries, but I really think it was more of the scheme. He just didn't adjust to the scheme. They were playing better in the back half, but that first 2-3 months on their defense, it was you could have argued that it was but besides the talent on paper, it was one of the worst defenses in the league, worse than even the Jags are on par with them. Just the way they're giving up so many points, it didn't help Burrow or the offense at all. Also they're saying if they bring they have Chase back and Higgins back and whatever, they're just gonna have no excuse to start out next year, because they always started slow, but next year they're not gonna have that excuse. I mean, Lawson, what were your thoughts on just the Bengals team wise and schematically what they could do heading into?
Well, I think to go to your point about their defensive coordinator, I think Lou Anarumo is a really good defensive coordinator. I think that like you said, it was a couple injuries. It was not playing good at the right time, the slow start. But in the grand scheme of things, the only reason why the Bengals are on the outside looking in, look at week 1. You're telling me Joe Burrow, who some lunatics, yes, I'm going to say lunatics, think he's the MVP of the NFL. 21 of 29 for 164, no TDs, no picks against New England.
Oh yeah,
that is the key spot. If you win week 1 in New England, actually I think it was at home. Yeah, it was in Cincinnati. You're gonna sit here and tell me right now that they're not on the inside looking out rather than the outside looking in?
Yeah, I think they're in the 7th seed if they win the game.
And it's funny to me because if they bring T. Higgins back, what's the number? Because you haven't paid Jamar Chase, and that number when he wins the Triple Crown, that number is going to be crazy because
they can franchise him for $26 million if they choose to. Just so they are allowed to, but I don't know what the contract number would be.
The contract number, if I'm Jamar Chase's agent, we're not waiting another year. My client's coming off a Triple Crown. Yeah, we're not waiting. Waiting. I want to re-up this deal right now while it's hot and still in everybody's mind. But I think that, I mean, when you look at their additions last offseason, Geno Stone led the NFL in in picks the previous year. They have one of the best pure pass rushers in Trey Hendrickson. They have serviceable DBs. DJ Turner's a rookie, but we're gonna see how he develops over the next couple of years. Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson are good linebackers. There's not too many things that they can change. And once again, once you devote that amount of resources in two number one receivers, you're going to leave yourself open in other aspects of your team. So you're going to have to win games how they have the past month and a half of the season. You're not going to hold teams to in the low 20s. You're gonna allow in the high 20s. So that's going to be more on Joe Burrow's plate than it already was towards the second half of the season, anyways.
And in the modern NFL, though, I think and I hate to say this, it hurts my heart to say this, the Bengals are set up better than the Steelers because I would much rather have a high-powered offense and then have to fix the defense the way the NFL works now than have the defense we have and have to figure out how to score like the Steelers do. So the Bengals have a higher upside. All they need to do, and it's not a lot, they just have to a couple tweaks, and Joe Burrow can win the game for you. The fact that this defense has lost so many games for Joe Burrow must be the most frustrating thing to this man. And I really don't care. I'm glad he lost them because I don't like the Bengals.
Right.
But I am envious of the Bengals about that point because this is a hard place for the Steelers to rebuild from the kind of offense we have. So.
Yeah, like the Bengals, with all the money going to their receivers, they're going to have to nail on these draft picks. And it's not even like they didn't try free agency. Like, they brought in Geno Stone. He just didn't pan out as like he did in Baltimore. And, I think they still have – don't they still have to pay Trey Hendrickson or they did some contract restructuring.
Yeah. I was going to say because he requested a trade. What was it? This past offseason he requested a trade?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So it's like
him and Higgins, they were
disgruntled over about not getting contracts.
Right. Yeah.
And I get it because we saw Trey Hendrickson in New Orleans before he went to Cincinnati be a baller, and then he goes to Cincinnati, and when you look just as of a couple weeks ago, I don't know if he's still leading the league in sacks, but for about an 8-week stretch, he was bar none one of statistically the best pass rusher in the NFL. I just think that
they're also gonna.
And the thing that too, you
gotta
think the owner into this too. Paul Brown's probably one of the most cheapest owners in the league out there,
right?
And I just don't see him agreeing to if they pay both receivers. Okay, let's what are we going to do about this defense? Oh, okay, I'm not going to spend that much money. I'm already spending this much money on your two receivers that you want.
I got you guys these two weapons because that to me, it is so hard and scary. That's why for whatever reason I will, and I assume we're going to get to them later. That's why I will not abandon ship on the Rams. When you have two number one receivers on your team, you are very, very scary. It might just be the Bengals and the Rams have two pure number one receivers, and they are entering the playoffs. Assuming if Cincinnati makes it, no one wants to play Cincinnati. No one wants to play the Rams because you have two receivers on either side that can go for 10 for 194 and 2 touchdowns and single-handedly deter the outcome of the game.
Eagles.
You were right, Trey Hendrickson and Myles Garrett tied at 14 for lead in sacks. So you get a good goal on that, which is I hate Myles Garrett makes my skin crawl. So we'll just move on from that.
Speaking of Myles Garrett and the Browns, he's a potential trade candidate for next year. I mean, he's been I think he's had 5 straight seasons, double-digit sacks, or over 13, I think, with the number.
Yeah. Something like that.
So that's crazy. But, to quickly touch on the Ravens, like Lawson said earlier, it's going to be, I think DTR and Zappy are splitting. Or it might be one's going to start, and then they'll – whatever it is.
Halftime or something.
The Jerry Jeudy stuff. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. And then Jerome Ford's out potentially, and Njoku.
Oh, no, Njoku's
out.
out.
Be Judy out there.
It would be the most AFC North thing in the world for the Browns to somehow win this game, though.
It's going
to be the most AFC North thing ever.
Like, dog, your third string quarterback, and potentially if Zappy plays your fourth string quarterback, no number one weapon in Njoku. You're down number one and number two running backs. You have nothing to play for other than to play spoiler. But it's gonna be a beatdown. But
How do you
it's
feel about because the order of the games? Because if the Ravens win, does that make you want to sit anyone, or is the desire
no,
to like win? Okay, I was just curious because
no,
I
because
for the Steelers.
because over the past month there hasn't been 5 good plays to put on tape or to at least get some morale boost going.
Yeah, the Steelers need
Oh, wow.
they need something. They can't sit anybody.
Even if
They don't have enough.
even if they lose, you got to show, okay, if they lose 34-31 or if they lose, 44-48, like we need to put something good on tape to pop something on the film session for your next day or whenever film sessions take place of, okay, here are some of the things that we're doing fundamentally well, here's some of the things that we did earlier on in the season that we've returned to due to we do them great. We need to put something good on defense. It is just like you said, it's as much of a must-win game for a team that is not in a must-win situation. The other team is on a must-win situation, and it feels like the Steelers are in need of a win more than Cincinnati.
Yeah. One last thought, because we don't have to spend too much time on the Browns and Ravens. But one thing is, I would look to have Key Mitchell more involved because they did that last week, and he did look pretty good. I mean, maybe not. He didn't have any breakout runs, but they're probably gonna, maybe ease him in a little bit more than Derrick Henry. It depends on how the game goes early because I would just rather use Henry like the first half and then maybe not have to use him unless, it really just depends on how the flow is going. Because if it's still, 1 or 2 score game, I mean, I would still play him more often. But in terms of like, some of their other players like, Devontae Walker, I know against the Giants had a touchdown. He dropped a pretty long ball. What was it from Josh Johnson in that Texans game? That felt like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, they're getting some of their younger players involved, but in terms of like freshness, they're still gonna obviously win the game in a must win for the division. But I guess I don't know why, but winning the division is potentially if they let's just say they obviously win this game and win the division, it just doesn't feel as good just because of I just don't get how they lost to the Raiders and the Browns with Jameis Winston still. That's still like I know Zach Gordon's done a very good job with the defense and improving them to they're like a close to a top unit at this point. They smothered CJ Stroud again and everything and the Steelers as well. But in terms of like I just wish that those two like it's literally just those 2 losses. All the other losses are like,
You'll live with
I'll
them,
take it. But yeah, but it's like the Patriots with the Bengals. Like that one loss, it's just so bad. Like I just don't understand how they lost them. But before we get to the Sunday slate, our fellow writer Jordan, talking about the Sunday game, basically we're gonna touch upon like. Can the Giants repeat what they did against the Colts versus the Philly backups, especially, and then
Colts.
Obviously the 1 seed for the NFC North.
So funny.
But yeah, we'll touch on that a bit more. But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. We got a whole slew of games. But Lawson, you were mentioning before the show a little bit about the Falcons and Michael Penix. This game is going to be very entertaining, even without, on the Panthers side, Chuba Hubbard. He was the engine for that team, and when he was out last week, they could not run the ball. But this still should be a fun game.
To touch on it,
but yeah,
to touch on it. Michael Penix over the past 2 weeks. I mean, granted, it's his first 2 starts, so I don't think it should be. Oh, he's looked terrible or he's looked fantastic. He has been just as advertised. mobile enough, good arm, good touch on the ball. There are some things fundamentally that he just needs to work on, and that's just going to be with experience. Like his footwork in the pocket, I think he's solid. There's been times where he there's been times where fundamentally they call plays, for a right-handed quarterback, you would call like a naked boot going from left to right. For Michael Penix, you're gonna do it from right to left due to lefty. It's just the way it's just the simple way in which he throws the football, and the spin, things of that nature, and the way he naturally looks. Because you're a lefty, right when you take the ball, right when the ball gets snapped to you, your look is more to your dominant side, as opposed to when you're right-handed quarterback to your right, which is your dominant side. I think this game is going to be really entertaining. It's going to be just an NFC South. I could see this being a semi-high scoring game, mid to high 20s. Carolina has nothing to play for but for next year. I think that Bryce Young has looked awesome over the past month. I think he's looked really, really good despite getting the doors blown off him last week in Tampa. That was a trap game for Carolina. Wasn't a good matchup. There was almost nothing they could do. For Atlanta, it's a win and hope Tampa Bay loses. If they win and Tampa Bay loses, then you win the NFC South, and your reward is you get to host the Detroit Lions or the Minnesota Vikings. That's your reward. That's your reward, is you get to host the second place
Yeah,
team
good
in
luck.
the NFC North. But other than that, I think Penix has looked good. Even though once again it's only been 2 games, so the jury's still out. But give it about midway to Thanksgiving of next year, and we'll tell you if there was a good hedge for them to draft him, or it's going to be he's going to need a lot of work.
By the way, if you ever
Yeah.
make a big mistake in your life, hire whoever does the Falcons PR. Because at this point, the fact that we are not just lambasting this franchise for spending $100 million on a old rental. At this point, we're like, Michael Penix, we're ready to pass the torch. It's all happening. Whoever is doing PR for that team is doing remarkable, because this is a dumpster fire that they caused, and no one is calling them on it. I just wanted to point that out.
$90 million guaranteed for 14 games.
And where did they draft Penix? Like top
8th?
Eighth. Good.
See, it's even more funny because whoever's Kirk Cousins' agent needs to go into the Hall of Fame. Like the fact that Kirk Cousins is a top 10 paid player in NFL history is gobsmacked. And I like Kirk, I really do. Only thing is that in big games, I get scared. Because Kirk at 1 p.m. is different than Kirk at 8 p.m. And he's had some good moments when he was starting. You look at both games against Tampa, he was lights out. You look in the Eagles game.
Oh God! Don't even get me started.
You look in the Eagles game. He was straight. There's been I think Kirk will.
That's what happens when you become a senior. You're not as good in the evening as you are at 1 p.m. It's past his bedtime.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been like that his whole career, though. Before he was a senior, technically.
He was a senior when he was drafted with RG3.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But getting on the, I guess this is more of like an off-season rumor, but I did hear the most likely landing spot for him when he gets cut is the Browns, because they don't have that much money to pay. They're probably going to be willing to get a new QB in the building. Like a Russell Wilson, for example, and then he could compete with whatever Watson is, and maybe a rookie. I don't know. It could be a 3 QB room, because DTR is just not. They're not going to keep him for next year. I mean, I wish that Jameis did enough to where he had a job, but it doesn't look like he's going to be there, even though he was such a good.
Mm-hmm. He was a good story for about a month.
That's how Jameis is.
Yeah, I mean he'll be a good bridge quarterback for another team, for sure. And then you just gotta target them in fantasy, because that's what he does. I mean, kind of similar to what Joe Flacco did against the Colts, but getting back to the Giants, Eagles. It sucks Saquon couldn't get the record against his former team, but this was probably the better move, and also Jalen Hurts is out with the concussion again. So you might rest everyone in and whatnot. But yeah, Brandon, what do you think about the Eagles kind of just like vibes heading into the playoffs, and then also this game?
So for me, I'm going to start with this game because this game we're going to get Tanner McKee probably for all 4 quarters, and that man, the Mormon
Yeah.
missile, I think Jordan Mailata tagged him as, he can sling it. I actually liked him in preseason. I watched a lot of preseason when he got drafted, and he was looking pretty good, and I thought he could be the backup over Mariota. So I thought he should have been the backup over Pickett, but.
Hmm.
I digress. Tanner McKee show is going to be fun to watch that for sure. Maybe we're going to see some Gainwell. We're going to see maybe Jahad Dotson get some more targets and stuff like that. Get some more reps.
Finally,
get some more reps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny Wilson, talents for the future. Get some play.
Mhm.
Defensive side, I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is going to get a lot of run this game. And I look forward to that because Axman was a great Eagles linebacker all time, and his son is looking like he's going to be a good player. So we'll see what he does in his first start. I think obviously we're probably going to see Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers on the outsides, maybe, and then maybe Maddox in the slot. It just depends on that. Good luck to either one. If Neighbors does play, like I think he will, that's going to be a tough assignment.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough assignment. Malik Neighbors coming off that strong game against Indianapolis last week. That's going to be a tough assignment for either one of those guys. I think Keely will most likely be the guy on Neighbors mostly because he's a little faster than Rogers is fast, but he's not. I think the length of Ringo will probably be the thing that we do. Also want to see Sidney Brown at safety a little bit more this game, so I'm looking forward to that. Now the mindset of the Eagles heading into the postseason: just get healthy. Just get healthy. Get Jalen Hurts healthy. Stay healthy with your line. Stay healthy with Saquon. Stay healthy with Devontae. Stay healthy with AJ. Get Dallas Goedert back, which he was a full participant in the walkthrough yesterday. I think he was a full participant today. He's not going to play Sunday. They might play him for a series, just depending, because he's been out for longer than Hurts has been. We might see a Dallas Goedert sighting here and there, but other than that, no other starters. Just get healthy, get ready for Green Bay most likely. Because I think Washington is going to win on Sunday, and they're going to try to play their starters and get the win over Dallas to get the get back game against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a week one
I
slate
think
where a lot of team fans are really excited just because it's the start of the season. That's the only way a lot of these look exciting.
No, it's like
Yeah,
a preseason. It's like a preseason for the playoff teams.
The last week of the year is always just a divisional week. Like it's just all your divisional matchups that have only played once. They just play against each other. Like once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think literally every single game is a divisional game.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
it is.
Yeah, it's all divisional.
Yeah, so it's like it's division
Yeah.
week. It's kind of like how in the NBA, how they have the rivalry week once a year. They'll have rivalry week.
And normally I'm like freaking out around this time because Steelers have nothing clinched, and I'm waiting to see what 9 other teams do to hope that we. So it's a different kind of stress, but yeah. So but
Yeah.
division week is interesting, but when it doesn't mean as much across a large stretch, it can be boring.
Yeah, like 75% of these games in the grand scheme of things don't matter other than where you're drafting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, we can follow up with in terms of like the Giants, like the ramifications of them, going off against the Colts. I mean, from was it like potentially a top 3 pick to maybe falling out of the top 5? Like
it would have been number 1 overall pick, and
yeah,
they wanted to win the game. Just get Malik Neighbors. I mean, blame Giants fans need to blame Malik Neighbors. That's who they need to blame. Him finally going off the way he did got him down to the 4th pick. Instead of, we're going to draft Shedeur, or we're going to draft Cam Ward. Like, oh, yeah. No, you're going to miss out on both of them because Tennessee and Cleveland leapfrogged y'all. So, and the Patriots are probably going to draft Travis Hunter number 1 overall. So,
yeah.
And we saw the front office can't do much right, so they're probably
Yeah,
not.
honestly, no. Like for the Giants, like I see it as like they keep both Showen and Dayball, or they just fire both of them.
I-
But in my opinion, I mean, even if they miss out on a QB,
Mhm.
like I don't know. I think either way, they're gonna have to target a free agent, like regardless of because I maybe they keep Tommy DeVito, but like Drew Lock, no, like there's no way they keep him after that, even with that game. Um, so either way, like they're kind of going to more of a let's start back up again, like with the new like quarterback, whether it's through the draft and
Mhm.
or free agency. But
Speaking of
um,
quarterbacks in the draft,
yeah,
before I think around showtime, 12 minutes ago,
Mhm.
Milrow declared for the draft.
Yeah,
Jalen
he's
Milrow. So, I mean,
he's
I
a
think he needed another year after the way he's
he's
been
a
playing.
yeah, he's a really interesting prospect when it comes to it, due to we have seen him dominate certain college games with his legs, but then there are other games like just this past weekend against Michigan where he's patting the ball too long. He's
Yep.
not going 1-2 throw or 1-2 legs. It's just pat pat pat. Now, granted, the offensive line was a little banged up. Their left
Mhm.
tackle, they didn't know if he was gonna play or sit due to his position in the draft. He played and didn't put up a good game, but I like Milrow. I think it's interesting. He has a hell of an arm.
He does.
His deep ball accuracy is awesome. The only
Yep.
problem is that's not where today's NFL can be. Well, it can be one throwing the
yeah,
ball down the field,
Mhm.
but it's can you pick up, because there are certain teams that they're just gonna say, okay, we're gonna sit in a cover two shell, and if you can hit these sidelines, or if you can hit the middle of the field, we tip our cap to you, and
Mhm.
you can enjoy the win. So if I want to see how he looks in some of the passing drills. I want to see what he looks on his pro day.
Yep.
I want to see him throw with his receivers on pro day or at the combine, or whatever the case may be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Lamar situation 2.0 where they're going to say, "Oh, can you play receiver?" Like, no, he's a quarterback. Let him play quarterback.
Yeah. I think for me too,
yeah, that's true.
Milrow is one of those guys in that Michigan game, like Lawson brought up. Michigan didn't have Will Johnson, who's probably the second best corner in this draft behind
They didn't
Hunter.
have three of their
Mhm.
superstar defensive linemen. No Mason Graham.
No
No,
Mason Graham. Yeah.
I think their other defensive tackle they were also missing.
Yeah.
And you go out
They only
now.
put 13 points on that defense without those three players. Like it's
It's
not the best look.
No, it's not. And like, even if you're a pure box score guy, his box score wasn't great. He was 16 for 32 for 192, one TD, a pick, and 16 carries for 7 yards. Now I get it, in college the sacks go against your rushing yards,
Yeah.
but still, when you are a quarterback with that explosiveness in your legs,
Mm-hmm.
he was also sacked 5 times, which
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Zach, in terms of like we said earlier, like the Steelers are probably gonna end up playing the Texans. How do you see that matchup? We don't have to cover the Texans Titans because they're probably gonna rest starters. It's not really
yeah.
a factor or anything, but yeah, how do you see that matchup going?
Feel good about that one if that's gonna be. No offense at all to my brother-in-law, who's a diehard Texans fan, because even he said that's the preferable matchup on both sides of the ball. The Texans want the Steelers, the Steelers want the Texans. So
That's
it's
true.
because we both want kind of a feel it out, not an easy opponent, but an on your same level opponent. So, but the Texans, which guy just got injured? Was that Tank Dell or
Tank
Yeah,
Nico
it was Tank
Collins?
Dell that broke
He's
his
done for
Tank
25
everything.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he broke his everything.
That's a huge, huge loss.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So and that so but that's winnable. I prefer it, but I got to see how we perform against the Bengals to know what kind of team we're going to be going into the playoffs. Because the team I've saw over the last 3 weeks, I don't even know if they can beat the Texans. So that's my concern.
The only positive outlook, without even seeing how we look against Cincinnati, the Texans' interior offensive line is a problem for
It is.
Houston. And Larry Ogunjobi and Cam Hayward, we've seen what they can do on a consistent basis when both of them are
Yeah.
on the field. Joe Mixon is top 3 in carries per game. I mean, once again, I'm sure next week's show we'll dive more into individual matchups and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
just from a outside looking in, because we haven't seen any of what either team has looked like in this weekend's slate. That's just a key thing that just jumps off the head. Okay, well, they're going to need to run a lot of a lot of powers or a lot of traps or a lot of outside runs, or you can utilize the screen as an extension of the run game, or short quick passes due to their interior line is bad.
I've never
Yeah.
liked playing against Joe Mixon. I've hated playing against Joe Mixon. It was on the Bengals. Something about Joe Mixon. He's a squirrely little. He's squirrely and he gets away from you.
Yeah, we played him
Hey,
last year and lost 30-6.
Yeah, it was fun.
Hey, for that hypothetical matchup, do y'all think TJ will go inside
No,
to expose the inside guards? Okay, I just
no. TJ is too. The thing with that is TJ is his get off is so explosive, and he's to my knowledge, I can't remember 4 snaps in which he's been inside at all. He's a pure outside linebacker more than like a Nick Bosa type or a Micah Parsons type, where they're defensive ends that can go inside, or like a Brandon Graham. Like we've seen, to bring up the Eagles, we saw what we've seen what Brandon Graham can do on the edge, and then in the Super Bowl against New England, they bring out the NASCAR package and light him inside against one of those guards.
That's what I was going with that, because the matchups on the tackles is not.
It's a lot tougher.
It's a lot tougher, and I think if I were Tomlin and y'all's defensive coordinator, I would try to, if I was knowing going in playing Houston, I would attack the guards with a NASCAR package. Have Hayward in obvious passing down situations. Have Hayward and TJ, and then bring in Highsmith and
Herbig
on the edges. That's what I would do. And just
if it was anyone but Terrell Austin, I would say most likely yes. But this is Terrell Austin, and he struggles to be creative on his best days.
It's
so.
Coach Belichick said it best on his on the show he does on NFL Network. What do we know about the Steelers? Well, on every big down, they're going too high. That's it. Every big down, they're going too high, and that can work. Only problem is everyone's got to be on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real quick to cover, the rest of these teams. The Bucks, the Packers, they're probably gonna. I don't know. I'm definitely more higher on the Bucks than the Packers in the playoffs. I just don't think their conglomerate of weapons at receiver. I just don't. It's a good concept in practice. It's worked before, but in terms of the key matchups, like we saw against the Vikings, they could not move the ball until it was basically they came back a little bit, but that was at the end.
It was too late.
I wouldn't bank on that.
And I think too, Jair being out too is a much dampening thing for Green Bay. Having him out, it's been probably why they lost a lot of these games the last couple of weeks giving up big plays in the pass game is because they're not having the number one lockdown corner on the outside. And for me, I think Tampa Bay is one. No one wants to see them right now the way they're playing, but the matchup is going to be so tough because they're going to get the loser of this big game on Sunday Night Football. So, and I think it's going to be Minnesota, but I think Detroit will win the 1 seed, and Minnesota will be going to down Tampa, but it could be Detroit. And I think Detroit, if it is Detroit, they did beat them earlier in the year in Detroit. But at the same time, I think this Detroit team is different from that, obviously because of the injuries and stuff like that. But I think their mindset will be okay, we're gonna get this game back.
One thing too, sorry to interrupt, but another thing too, there is a path that Tampa can jump LA and they can get the 6, which is a they can get the 3, which is a more optimal matchup whether you're playing Washington or Green Bay. Because I've said it for weeks. There's something about Jordan Love that I'm not all the way set. I don't know if it's the bad fundamentals that he had from sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's decision making, or for as much as all these weapons are fantastic that he has. Name 4 gotta have it plays that happened last week against Minnesota, because even though they can't catch them or jump them in theory, but like it's still a big time divisional win, and you got swept. There's like Jaden or Jalen Reed, he's really good, but there are times where was he on the field? Because we saw what he said. Oh, wait till I come to Detroit, and he had what, 1 catch for 12 yards.
Yeah,
and then you look last week, 1 catch for 6 yards.
Yeah,
and you see what happens when Christian Watson isn't there to really extend.
Yeah.
Not saying that all their receivers aren't fast, because they are very fast, and no one wants to see this team in a dome for obvious reasons.
right.
But they're a power running team with small, speedy receivers outside of Christian Watson, who's he's a big body down the field target. But I don't know. There's just something, like I said, there's just something about this Green Bay team that it's just.
Yeah,
I think having the 3-6 matchup is better than having the 4-5 or the 2-7, because
absolutely.
I think. But here, the only thing, if the Commanders get that 6 and it ends up being the Rams, I think the Commanders-Rams will be the most intriguing game, because I think they think the Commanders can probably go to LA and be competitive in that game. But if it's somehow Green Bay and LA, I don't see it, because we already saw it earlier in the year, and the Rams won that one. And so that's the intriguing thing about this week for NFC seeding is obviously the 1 seed, but because the Rams are starting Garoppolo this week. No Stafford. The Rams might lose it still to Seattle somehow, because even though Seattle's out of it, they might just want to spoil the seeding for the Rams at this point to get them down to the 4 if possible. So it's an interesting dilemma because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably going to win against the Saints. I would say by at least 10. That's what I would. That's what I would.
They should.
Yeah. One last thing before we just move on from the 1 p.m. slate. Even though Josh Jacobs had a great season, like that addition helped them in a lot of different ways. I actually think that the Jordan Love kind of not regression, but just they're kind of playing him as a game manager, and I think that's actually hurt them at times, because then when they go against a better defense that can stop the run, they can't exploit any coverage, but because as good as the Viking defense, and they do let up a lot of yards to the receivers, and then but the Packers couldn't take advantage of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I was more thinking the Packers would do more damage in the playoffs last year, and then they add a better, I guess an upgrade at running back, but then they're so run heavy at times that they can't exploit any of these maybe pass funnel defenses. But yeah, let's go to the 4 p.m. slate. With Wentz playing Denver, that's going to be interesting. I actually think the Chiefs the Chiefs they could just still win. I don't know how much it matters. Denver should have won the first time with that blocked field goal, but I couldn't see it. Bo Nix has been as a rookie. He's been a little inconsistent. He'll make some boneheaded plays. So yeah, we'll see how he does against the Chiefs backups. Basically, but I guess the more important thing I think out of all these games is the Dolphins Jets, because it might be the last time we see Rodgers on the football field, period. And then also the Dolphins are technically still alive. So even though they're not playing Tua, from the looks of it, there is some stakes there for them at least.
Mm.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, Lawson. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Lawson. What are your thoughts on those games?
Just on the Miami, New York side of it, just like you said, this could be the last time we see Aaron Rodgers. And for some people, it's like kick rocks with no shoes, boulder size. And for other pure, not saying that not all football fans love Aaron Rodgers, because we understand his importance to the game. We understand he's one of the best pure. Before this guy wearing 15 in Kansas City came out, it's just if you base on just pure talent, Rodgers has everything. We have seen him play at a higher level at his peak than almost any quarterback in NFL history. He's been one of the best, like I said, just pure talents. But then it comes with the other side of it, and if you've seen his Enigma documentary on Netflix, he's just a weird, he's kind of far out there guy. He's into conspiracies and all kinds of weird stuff like that. I don't think it'll be the end, because I've seen reports that barring anything major, the Jets will the Rodgers Devontae experiment is over in New York, which
Yeah.
there was, to me, other than the Browns being bad, because they're always bad, that was just the easiest thing to predict in the NFL this season, was the Jets being bad. You're telling me a 6-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles is going to lead the Jets to an 11-6 record and contend for the AFC East? No, there's no shot. I think that it's a long rebuild ahead. I don't think they're as far away as how I just said they're a long rebuild. I think if you get a hard-nosed guy in there, like I would love, and I will be banging the drum for him, bring Rex Ryan back to New York.
Yeah.
Bring Big Rex back into New York. That was the last time they were good. That was the last time they were competitive. We saw Rex with Mark Sanchez go into New England, bump off the Patriots, and make back-to-back AFC Championship games.
Yeah.
I think that Rex would be. He's great. I think he's a really good coach. He might be, outside of Vrabel, he might be the best coach that's not coaching right now. And I understand he hasn't coached in a minute, so it just, I don't know. I feel like the Jets, when they let go of Joe Douglas, their GM, I'm like, he brought in so many talented players to this team. Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson. They've also had some, Elijah Vera Tucker. They have also had some draft picks that just haven't worked out, like Mekhi Becton. I know you're reaping the benefits of it, Brandon, with Mekhi Becton.
I love him right now.
Moving from tackle to guard, moving him inside, and it's been a life-changing thing for him to, even with linemen, just move them around the line. Just to see. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, it is what it is. But for the Jets and this game in particular, I think Miami wins this game due to must win. And if Aaron plays, awesome. And if it's the last time we see Aaron, there's gonna be tears, because he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch ever when he was in his prime. But it's gonna be a sad day for football fans. It's like when he's the last old guy that we got left, and
That's true.
He's from the Manning, Ben, Brady, Rodgers, like he's that era of quarterback. He's like the last one we got, other than Flacco, but Flacco's backing up somewhere. And Kirk. I mean, if you want to throw Kirk Cousins in as Kirk was kind of the bridge to this next generation, but he's Rodgers is the last one, and it's gonna suck when he's gone. I think that someone will give him a chance. I've seen rumors of him everywhere, from San Fran to Pittsburgh on a 1-year deal to Cleveland for whatever reason. Just all kinds of random stuff. Because I think if he still has the touch, but he just doesn't have the fastball anymore. And there's, once again, maybe it's the situation, and he pops up next year and he has a good season, but I think it's very unlikely. And I think that there's a 45% chance he leaves and just retires.
He's 41. And he's not 41. He's 40.
Wow.
He's 41. Let's make that fair.
Aaron,
I heard you say
Aaron, I was trying to shave you some years, bro. I was trying to shave you some. I was trying to.
So next year, who wants a 42-year-old quarterback coming off a bad year after an Achilles injury?
Yeah, heck no.
He's also weird.
He's also eccentric.
Bad vibes.
Hell no. Hell no.
I mean, unless you're gonna get him for $1 million.
$1 million bucks. I don't think any quarterback will take $1 million.
Russell Wilson did.
Well, technically, he took a lot more, just we didn't pay it.
But
Yeah,
Denver
well,
was
yeah.
still paying the Denver was paying that contract. No, I
Yeah,
still don't want Aaron Rodgers
Yeah, I
anywhere.
I don't know. It's just for Rodgers. Everyone's trying to grasp onto, because there's been some times this year where he's like, okay, this looks pretty good, and then there are times where like I think his QBR last year was last week was 0.8.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Woo!
Terrible.
It's just it sucks because we hate seeing legends go out like this. It sucks because whether you think he's a goober or one of the best ever,
Yeah.
he's a legend to the game, and it
Mhm.
sucks to
But,
see him go
I
out
mean,
like this.
It's like Brett Favre.
Technically, shouldn't he go to the Vikings after this? Isn't
I
that
mean,
where
yeah,
he's
for
supposed
Paul
to go?
McCartney, yeah, if he would.
It's
Oh,
like Brett
God.
Favre,
I
bro.
mean, yeah,
It's like Brett Favre all over
They
again,
have
man.
enough quarterback
Yeah.
decisions.
yeah, they got enough. They got enough.
Yeah.
They have enough stuff going around with what are they gonna do with JJ? Which
Yeah.
there's a handful of teams that I've seen
Yeah.
rumored due to you're not got your. I refuse to believe that they're going to let a 38 touchdown thrower and Sam Darnold walk out of the door without a contract.
free.
I refuse to believe that.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
No.
Now on paper,
Yeah.
the 4 p.m. slate looks a lot.
there
It
is
looks
a-
more like it'll be more entertaining than the 1 p.m. for sure.
But it's all about that late night game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what everyone's
Yeah.
waiting for.
I mean, this applies to. Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a mixed mosh of a bunch of uncontending teams and teams that are just resting starters and whatnot. But there is one last thing about the New York teams. Like, I know my Giant friends, friends listening. They do want Mike Vrabel. He's very coveted among the fan base. I feel like I don't know about over Daboll, but in terms of like, I guess for both teams, like they just need like more buy-in. Like they just need a coach that can get that buy-in. Because we heard Garrett Wilson wants out if Rodgers is back. So I mean that basically means he's not going to be. Because I don't see how they would take the side over a older veteran quarterback over a young superstar. His contract is coming up. He wants to have a career year. But yeah, they just need. Both teams just need a coach with more buy-in, because like the talent, they have talent at a lot of positions. It's just they just don't have enough buy-in. So
When they made the Aaron Rodgers decision,
I guess
So.
Zach. Yeah, Zach. We kind of talked on the Cardinals last week, and who's to blame for their downfall. With all the hype with the new rookie and everything, I'm interested to hear what your take on just Arizona is as a team.
Arizona is disappointing because on paper they should be fun.
Well, yeah,
They should be a fun football team to watch, and that's the disappointing part because they're not fun. They're frustrating, and Marvin Harrison is frustrated. And there's probably all this ugliness in the background, considering how the year started with his jersey stuff. And from the moment that happened, I there's been bad vibes around this team.
Yeah,
Just the inability to handle things behind the scenes and things getting out into the open, whether it was his PR team or whatever. This is a team that is underachieved all season. It disappointed me because I like watching entertaining football teams. And Kyler Murray should be more entertaining than this. So it's disappointing. This is a tale of two disappointing teams, 49ers and Cardinals. Disappointment. Yeah. That's what this matchup is.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Seahawks had a rookie head coach, but I mean, you could throw in the Seahawks in there. I mean, it looked like Geno Smith was going to have a career season with the, not Mike McDonald, their offensive coordinator from Washington.
Ryan Grubb.
I forget his name. But anyway, yeah, Ryan Grubb. They had some interesting passing concepts. And they're utilizing Ken Walker a lot as a receiver as well. Mm-hmm. That's been good and bad per se. But, I mean, the whole NFC West kind of just disappointed. I mean, we'll see how the Rams do, but they're definitely, they at times they can be dangerous when the offense and defense are both clicking at the same time. But yeah, I guess the last team mainly is going to be. I mean, we don't have to talk on the Raiders, but well, actually, I guess we could. Their win over the Saints also cost them
Draft position.
a top 5 draft pick.
Draft position.
Yeah, I think I was listening to something last week. Like, this is the problem when you keep like an interim style head coach for too long. I mean, Antonio Pierce was kept for another year, so he wasn't technically. But I mean, I don't know. I just didn't have faith in him from the beginning of the year. With how they handle the QB situation. But yeah, I mean, I guess Brandon, what are your thoughts on? I guess the Chargers. They dominated the Patriots. They looked like I was surprised they actually didn't run as much as they normally have. They were throwing the ball a lot, and Josh Palmer and Quinn Johnston when he caught the ball. But yeah, what are your thoughts on them heading into the playoffs and with Jim Harbaugh?
So I was saying they could pull off the upset a couple weeks ago, and I was saying that depending on the matchup per se, because of the they could face Houston. Because I was like, oh, maybe they possibly leap into like the 5 seed, so over one of the AFC North, the AFC North loser essentially. The second place AFC North team, and maybe have that matchup, and then have like the Chargers and Texans. And I'm saying Jim Harbaugh would scheme up CJ Stroud because he faced him in college a lot, so he knows CJ Stroud in and out, knows how to play him, knows what his tendencies are, knows how he'll perform. And that's why I was thinking maybe the Chargers would get past the wild card round and into the divisional round, play at Kansas City. You never know what happens to a third divisional matchup. But for me, I think now with them most likely being the 6th seed, unless, like I said, unless Pittsburgh or somebody else loses or something like that, or Baltimore, it's complicated. Saturday night will determine the seeding of that.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the Chargers, if they go against Baltimore into Baltimore, have to make a lot of adjustments from that Monday night game a few weeks ago, the first time we had the Harbaugh Bowl this year. Obviously, if they want to make noise in the playoffs, I still think Lamar is just too much in the playoffs for this Chargers defense, even though it's a great it's been pretty good defense, solid this year. One of the most solid defenses, young defenses out there is this Chargers defense in my mind. So that's I think they're a year away from being real contenders in the AFC West. Year or two. If they get a couple more pieces, get a couple more, maybe a receiver or two, and then something on the defense in the middle, safety or something like that. I think they could be real contenders again because Jim Harbaugh knows what to do as years of program building. But for me, I think they can make noise if Justin Herbert keeps playing like the way he's playing right now. If they somehow get the 5 seed, I think they'll win over Houston. And even though it's in Houston, I just think Jim Harbaugh knows, like I said, knows Stroud in and out, and I think I think him and Mentor will have a great game plan for Houston.
Yeah, like if they. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't trust the Chargers or the Rams going into anything that isn't warm weather or a dome. They will go as far in the playoffs as warm weather or a dome takes them.
Leave the LA teams alone.
I don't know either of those teams in any kind of
if they go to Houston, it'll be a dome.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I trust them there.
To add something to Brandon's point about them being, a year or two away from being serious AFC West and potential Super Bowl contenders. When Harbaugh took this job, I expected him to be good.
Yep.
I also expect him in the draft in the offseason to have a Pete Carroll-esque type. He has the best advantage over the next 2 to 3 years. Whatever draft pick you have, if you don't love somebody, trade it and get more. Because all of these kids coming out over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
All of them. What do you think made Pete Carroll in the Seattle dynasty so dominant? It's the fact that he knew, I can get Earl Thomas in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I can wait till the
5th round for Sherman.
When was Richard Sherman taking the 6th?
Yeah.
So it's like,
God.
he has a great advantage over all of these other NFL coaches right now when it comes to the draft. He knows who can, he knows who can't play. He, not saying he would cherry pick from Michigan, but he knows what kids at Michigan that he got to the program can and can't play. That was all I had to add on, is the fact that I think it's going to be a big advantage come the draft. Which if they make the playoffs and lose to Baltimore, they're going to have the 17th, 18th, maybe 20th pick.
They'll be in that range.
I could easily see them, and if the Chiefs or whoever wins the Super Bowl fall in love with somebody, or somebody at the top of the second, if they fall in love with somebody, call up LA. If you are looking to trade up in the draft, call the Chargers. There's no reason why they should flip it for more.
Yeah. Now to get into the
There
definitely
it
the game of the
is.
week
There we
finale
go.
to end off everything. Yeah, I'm not sure what the line is, but
I think it's
it's
I
probably
think it's 1.5.
Lions,
I'll
like,
pull it up right now just to double
Yeah.
check.
That's gorgeous.
yeah.
This game's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, Zach, what are your thoughts on this game, and then we'll circle to everyone else.
This is what Week 18 should be. This game. This is so much fun. I can't imagine this game being anything but fun. I'm going into this with the expectation that both teams are going to just play lights out. And I am because it's not just two good teams, it's two good teams with so much on the line. And I'm just excited. Like, as a football fan, I am excited because I will know what's going on with my stuff. It'll be done. I can relax. And then I can go
Yeah.
into this just enjoying football and knowing I'm in the playoffs. So that's just a pure football way to finish things off. Bravo, NFL.
Lions 3.
Brandon, you can go now.
The line is Detroit 3, -3 right now.
I got it at 2.5
Okay.
on FanDuel.
I got it on the ESPN bet has it -3, so either way.
Either way, if you love it, 2.5's a underdog. 2.5's a favorite number. 3's a dog number. But Brandon, you got the floor. Let me hear it.
All right, let's. I'm gonna, like I said earlier, I was saying earlier, this Detroit Lions team has been playing without key starters on defense for however long since Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, and it is a concern. But I don't think it's gonna hurdle this team against this Minnesota Vikings team. I saw some things last week in that Minnesota game where it was concerned for if you can get to Darnold, that's the big if. If you can get to Darnold, he's still seeing ghosts at times. Even though he's been phenomenal this year, I think Sam Darnold's been great. I think him having Jefferson has helped out a lot. I do like this Minnesota team as a whole. I think they'll definitely cover. It will come down to it'll be like a 2-point game or something like that. And Detroit might win in a field goal, or Minnesota might win in a field goal or something like that. I think that's what it's going to come down to. If Dan Campbell, the one thing I am nervous about for Detroit and Bobby and all the Detroit fans is Dan Campbell going for it as much as he's been going for it recently. That could almost cost him against San Francisco. It might cost them against a better Minnesota Vikings team if they don't get it, because they have not been getting stops. But if Kirby Joseph is playing like Kirby Joseph has been the last, especially last game where he had 2 interceptions, I think Detroit could win by 4 or 5 because of the impact of the turnover, especially where the turnovers were at, and that's how they won last time, because Minnesota had a crucial turnover down the stretch. So in Minnesota, so I like this game. Will be the preview. Could be a preview of the NFC Championship. I don't think it will be, because I think Minnesota will suffer a bump along the way, either in Tampa Bay or in Philadelphia. I think those are the 2 bumps in the road for them. I think those are the 2 teams that can beat Minnesota easily. Other than Detroit, those three teams can beat this Minnesota team because they match up well. They can run the ball. They can, play defense at times. maybe not Tampa
Yeah.
as much, but I think Tampa can control the game, control the clock. And I think obviously Philly can control the clock and play number one pass defense in the league. They got two corners that can shut down Addison and Jefferson. But I digress. Back to this game. I love Minnesota in the spot. I would take the points with Minnesota. Obviously, at that 3 line, at the 2.5 line, I would. It's a toss up, but. The 3 line that I'd said, I would take Minnesota. I think Minnesota could pull off the upset and get the 1 seed. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Goff is going to make one key throw in this game that's going to win it.
Yeah.
To go off of what Brandon said, would it really be an upset? Like, is there?
Well, I mean,
I understand when it comes down to your betting and your line wise. Obviously, there's favorites and there's underdogs, and I don't think whatever side wins, they were the better team in this game. I love Detroit in this matchup. It almost seems when Bobby brought it up a couple weeks ago, it is it just seems like a team of destiny. And how you brought up the Dan Campbell cost him in this game.
Yeah.
I would rather him go for it every single time if it's 4th and 4 or under on plus side of the field.
Yeah.
Because that's been his MO. We're not going to play to not lose the game. We're going to play to win the game. I understand the wordplay can get tricky there, but you get what I'm saying. We're going to play to win the game. We're not going to play not to lose. It's such a good game, and it's awesome that this got flexed. It's like, I want to say it was 3 years ago when San Fran Seattle was the last game of the year, and it came down to an inch on 4th and goal at the buzzer. It's going to be this game is going to be a 1-score game throughout. If any team jumps up to a double-digit lead, if you're a fan of that team, start biting your fingernails and clenching your teeth, because the pendulum of power will swing in both directions for both these teams. I got Detroit hosting the NFC throughout. It's going to be an awesome game. Just when you look at just how you brought up key turnovers, Detroit is top 10 in the NFL in takeaways at 1.5 takeaways per game, and they are bottom 4 in turnovers per game at just 0.8. And when you look on the flip side, Minnesota is number 1, averaging almost 2 turnovers per game at 1.9, but they're also top half of the NFL, ranking 14th in 1.3 turnovers per game. If you want to get into your numbers, one team takes away the ball, but also will give you opportunities to take away the ball, and the other team forces turnovers and doesn't really turn the ball over.
Yeah, and also going on to the Dan Campbell point a little bit more. For me, I think they've been going for it more recently because he knows in the back of his mind the defense isn't going to stop the offense right now at times. Like there's sometimes. So it's like I think that's where I was like, okay, if he goes for it and misses it in a crucial spot, I think that could swing the balance of power over to the Vikings. But that's like you were saying. I think the turnover margin point. I think that's going to be the deciding factor of this game. I think Sam Darnold's going to throw one ball that's going to cost them. So.
Yeah. I was gonna basically end it after talking about this game.
Yeah.
Because this is the game of the week, but. Yeah, Zach, plug what you're working on, where they can find you.
Solar Picks, and then, of course, I also do a Steeler Sanctuary, do a website, and we have a couple stuff. Check me out, Everywhere Steeler Sanctuary, and also down there is my social media stuff.
Yeah, Brandon.
The handle's right there, 30BLs on Twitter. New year. Exciting year coming up here. So I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl, obviously. Looking forward to the Sugar Bowl game. It should be a good game today. Obviously, with the delay, it's a tragic situation. I just wanted to say my thoughts and prayers out to the people in New Orleans. First and foremost. hope everyone's safe and everything like that, and prayers out to the families of the victims and stuff like that about the heinous act down there in New Orleans yesterday.
Lawson.
Check me out on Twitter right here at Lawson _1226. And just like Brandon said, it's a new year, but we're going to be pumping out the same good content. If you like free money, check us out at Total Apex Bets. We're going to be bumping out a lot more of the Sunday slate as the week goes on, and we should get most of the games out there by 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday.
Yep, we'll be back next week, for the wild card, and playoffs are here. We're gonna finally see some good football. I feel like the island games recently have been kind of, other than 1 or 2 games, they've been kind of shoddy. I'm just hoping that they're at least a little bit more parity with these upcoming games. But with all the holiday and stuff, we only had one show this week, but we'll probably do that moving forward, I guess, just because less games to talk about. But stick with us. We'll cover the NFL offseason, and it's going to be crazy in the next few weeks. And I'm actually shocked we didn't really cover the Chiefs or the Bills. But,
really need to.
You know what? I'm glad.
They're already locked up. Didn't need to.
No.
Yeah, seeding's locked up. They got Trubisky in for Buffalo. Josh Allen's probably going to get the start because of the start streak, but most likely it's going to be a Trubisky show.
Yeah. I guess the last thing, we kind of touched on this a few weeks ago, but I guess if you had a MVP vote, who would you vote for and why? Just very brief.
Winner of the Sunday night game gets my vote. So if Vikings win, there's a strong argument for Sam Darnold, and I'm not. And if Goff win, and if the Detroit wins it, Goff has my vote. Or if you just want to put it, or if you want to give it to who put the Superman cape on, Saquon or Josh Allen, they get my vote. But
There it is.
in my opinion, there's 5 people that have credible arguments. But I'm gonna give it to Josh just because he put the Superman cape on, and a lot of people thought they were gonna be bad.
Yeah. I think my vote probably be Josh. Slightly, I would say Saquon.
I'd be biased. You can't do that.
I can't do that, obviously. So I'm gonna go Josh Allen in my vote. Close second, Lamar.
I'll vote for Saquon for you, because in a year where everyone devalues and disrespects running back, someone comes in and rushes for 2,000. How can you not? No, you come in and you do that to the man, and he rushes for 2,000. Give him an MVP.
Yep.
Yeah, I will agree that this year it's like it was the worst time to have career seasons in terms of like Lamar, like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold coming back from being like bad, I guess. I heard that they're not going to turn down votes for Darnold as a comeback player, but I mean, the only problem is like, what is he coming back
from being ass?
Like,
Horrible.
yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but
It's like when Gino was getting votes, and when he won comeback player, it's like, what did he come back from? Just being bad? Like there's no significant
That's why they
injury.
need a most improved award. That's why they need to do the NBA thing.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but that's gonna do it. We'll be back next week, probably around like the normal schedule, like Tuesday, Thursday, around the same time. But hope everyone has a happy New Year, and